Get your cocktails about the game script. A huge victory. We get on these streams and we put our heads together. Get your balls, put them on the table. We are live. We are live. Let's get it going tonight. You guys have found us. You are at the right spot with Pub Sports Radio. It's last call. I'm excited to get this card going tonight. A little break in the NBA tonight, which doesn't serve me such a bad spot here. But we do have a hard court extraordinaire that's going to come in tonight and share some looks in college basketball. So I'm excited. You guys know him. He's been on the show twice already. We're going to tease it there, and we'll get into it and bring him on to talk college hoops tonight. A couple looks for me in college hoops as well. But hey, despite the fact there's no NBA, we still have a full NHL card to rock through tonight. We've got college football. We got action, baby. We got 3 games in the MAC tonight that we'll talk about. We've got college hoops going as well, and it's really kind of day 2 in college basketball. Lots of fun things going on tonight. Lots of opportunity to get that cash. You know, we've been doing incredibly well in the NHL, so I'm glad that it's a full card tonight. And we get that little break from the NBA. Gave me a little bit more time to focus in and really drill down. I added a couple last-minute spots as well in this NHL card that we'll talk about tonight. So, shout out to my guy T back there, backstage on the 1s and 2s, making it all tight and right, getting it looking good for us to fly through this evening's card. We got to fly through it, too. We got to keep a brisk pace. There's a lot to cover, lots of money to be made, and we want to make sure we do the due diligence to give you guys all those breakdowns and give a nice little recap at the end so you guys have time to get to the window. Hey, we got 50 plus already joining. Appreciate everybody being timely with this thing tonight. Make sure you guys do me that favor. Hit the like button in the YouTube video. As a matter of fact, let's take a pause right now. You guys are in here hanging out. Hit that like button for me. YouTube video. We got to get this thing promoted. We got to break this algorithm and let them know Pub Sports, last calls here. We're kicking ass and taking names. So again, shout out to everybody that's in here in the chat. I see Lando's out there. He's got 20 smaller bets for tonight so far. I hope I can cash something tonight and change my luck around. Lando, I think you're in the right spot to do that, my guy. You know you're going to find a way. You always do. Truth Teller says he's in the NHL. William T, let's go money. Mike, Mr. Vape, hey all, let's have one. A few plays I'm on. Mr. Vape sharing his action in the chat. We always appreciate that. He likes North Texas -4.5. He's on the Islanders regulation play. He's got the under 137 in the half in the Vandy game as well. There's our guy, Justin. Justin with the stacks play of the day. He's 94.94. He's got Auburn on the money line at -107. Jay Smooth, 16 in the house. Money bag, Mike, let's get paid. You know it, my guy, Jay Smooth. Appreciate you dropping in there. Sancho, what up, my guy? How you doing? Shout out to Vincent Ramirez, new member. We had a couple new members join last night as well. Appreciate you guys taking that opportunity. You know, it means a lot for us. $4.99 is a small contribution to the cause to help us keep this programming going, pay the bills that we have to pay behind the scenes that give you guys the programming that you see today. So that being said, Jay Peasy's up in here. He says he had a 4-leg parlay yesterday that cashes if Ohio wins on the money line. Only action he has so far today. Well, we'll see if we can't fill that card up for you, Jay Peasy. Kush got 312. Need some action. You come to the right place, buddy. You know what we do out here. We throw some plays out there that we think are going to get everybody to the window. And we're going to start with that NHL. There's Don Play says, are we going to cash tonight? Yeah, you know we're cashing tonight. Let's go. We're going to get this thing started here. You guys know, give everybody the opportunity to file in. Getting out of work. Maybe you're getting out of work a little bit late. You know how we do this thing here. We start with the recap. We'll go through yesterday. Disappointing day, all in all. I mean, it was a 5-9 day on the card. The NHL was great. Swept the NHL again. In fact, even all the leans came through with the exception of our guy Listerainen for the goal at, what was that, +300. So we hit the parlay with Florida and Toronto. That was a +138 spot. We got the Boston Bruins at +125. And then we hit that Vancouver spot at the end of the night at +105. So that was a really strong start out there. As far as the college basketball spot there, lost the UAB at -4. With a Golden State first half over 109. What a bum spot for me in the NBA last. Just disappointment. And, had the original spot there. It was a lean at the end of the day, but it was Golden State full game over and then the first half over. And, of course, the first half makes the final cut over. It doesn't go over, but then the full game ends up going over. Orlando Magic last minute ad when it got to +1.5. Gosh, my last minute ads. I'm going to do a better job and being more responsible, not just adding things at the last minute. We did catch that Milwaukee Bucks over 230. That was a comfortable win. We got the D'Angelo Russell over 5.5 assists as well at even money out there. Clippers lost. I know a lot of guys in the chat were talking about the Knicks side of things. A lot of guys that I respect in the capping world were on them Knicks as well. And yeah, it looks like the Clippers are going to take a little bit of time to figure it out. I know James Harden got that first basket, but he really didn't do much after that. So Jazz +4.5 just got beat down. That was probably the biggest beat down, I think, of the card for me. The Minnesota under 222. Overtimes where unders go to die, and that sure is what happened. Fred VanVleet did not get anywhere near his double-double. And the same game parlay at +360 missed by one steal, one lousy steal. And he had that first steal so early in the game that it was certainly disappointing. But anyhow, we move on, we move forward. And as far as the leans are concerned, Joker got his triple-double. That was a nice little spot to see. Man, that's got to be one of the hardest things to get in sports. And yet here he is banging him down like it's his job. So, and I guess you could argue it is his job. Brunson's over 3.5 rebounds, did not get there. The Heat did come through on the win. Draymond's over 8.5 points. Bum, didn't get there. Golden State did cover the full game over. UT Arlington and College Hoops got there, got the win done. Siena under 135 did not. West Virginia -3.5 did get the job done, but the NFL Everett touchdown and the Hall over 58.5 rushing yards did not get the job done. We cashed the goal prop with JT Miller at +185 out there on the lean side of things and missed that list of Ryan. And Tavares did get his over 3.5 shots on goal as well at +105. So 7 and 6 day on the leans. And, what would I say? That was a 5 and 9 day on the full side play. So the NBA definitely put a little sour taste in my mouth, but we're going to see if we can't rally and recover tonight. All right, we're getting there. Everybody's getting in here now. We're at 100 folks here in the chat. Guys, make sure you hit that like button. Do me the favor, go out to Twitter as well, or X now, and like and retweet the piece I sent out there about being live. Let's get more people in here. Last night we had almost a show high with around 150 at peak. And, again, well over 500 viewers on the YouTube channel when it was all said and done. We need those likes, though. Need you guys to do me that favor. Don't ask for much. I go through, break the card down all day. If you like what you hear, just hit that like for me. Hate to be the broken record with that thing, but it means so much. You guys don't know. And I know it's a little thing, easy to forget. So I'll try to remind you guys as we go through the show tonight. But we're going to get rocking here. So we got Joe Kryptonite out here, says, yo, yo, yo. Nunya likes Brantley. Jacqueline's out there. Jacqueline, it's nice to see you. Nunya says, Anwar Gill and Khalil Bradley to go off for the LaSalle. He parlayed LaSalle money line in the over 133.5 at +378. Nice. Looks like a big play for him. Jay Peasy says, LBJ was money. Shout out to Dutch. Dutch had a nice day yesterday. He had a nice little 2-2 spot there. I think he ended up plus money when it was all said and done. We both kind of took it on the chin with that damn Magic game, but it is what it is. We'll move forward. We're not going to have winners every day, and it's about minimizing the losses and capitalizing on those big winning spots. Again, appreciate everybody dropping in. Want to give everybody shout outs. Make sure you throw that plays in the chat for us. Again, it means a lot. We'll talk about them. We'll try to do our best to highlight them. And you guys are on as many winners as we are. So it's important that you share that information with us. I see Talk Sports with JT says NIU team total under 26.5. We'll talk about that game as well. And Joe says he likes Montreal moneyline, Hurricanes in regulation, and Winnipeg in regulation. Well, let's get into the NHL. He's going to pull it up for us here. We'll get things cracking as we're about to pop off here. And the first game that we're going to start with tonight's going to be that Tampa Bay, Montreal, Les Habitants, the Canadiens. And we got Tompkins in that. Now, here's the thing about this game and this goaltending matchup. I refreshed this about 5 minutes before the show started. I still had a lot of likelies and questionables. So, man, even though we're at last call and trying to give you guys the best information, we got lucky last night because it was Toronto's goaltending that I had capped for the win in that thing, and he ultimately didn't end up playing. So I saw that after they went down like 3-1 right away, and I'm like, what the shit? How could this happen here? First game of the night. And, again, fortunately, they came back and got the job done in overtime. A lot of overtime spots last night, too. So if you were an overtime three-way player, you did well last night, but we'll keep it rolling here. So we're going to start this thing off here. And we're trying to kind of change some things up to keep the screen clean. So again, shout out to T. You got the scrolling bar now going across the bottom where you guys will see cash flow splits. You'll see some of the records that are out there as well. And wanted to really try to emphasize and give you guys a bigger look at some of the plays and kind of the agenda that runs down the side. So again, we're tweaking this thing as we go, but we'll get right into this game here and kick it off here. We've got Tompkins taking the pipes for Tampa Bay Lightning. He's going out there against the Canadiens guy, Jake Allen. at 3-1-1. Tompkins not having the start to his season that he was hoping for. And you can see here from a goals perspective, 3.59 goals against average, 89.1% save percentage, not getting the job done. Jake Allen on the other side of things, 272 goals against average with a 92.7 save percent. Looking pretty solid out there for Jake Allen. A couple of things that I want to kind of highlight for this game here, and kind of contrary to what a lot of people were looking at there, I'm on this Tampa Bay side of things. I know Tompkins hasn't been the guy to shine in here, but big trend going on right now. When you've previously beaten a team, which the Habs have, the Canadians have previously beaten the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now they're a home dog. That next game being on the road, they're 9-26. So it's kind of a little sandwich spot where they previously took on the Lightning, beat them up. They're now a home dog and they're about to go on the road. So it's almost kind of a look ahead for that travel spot. And in this case, they're 9-26 specifically for the Habitants, and they're losing by a goal and a half out here. Also, a couple spots that I want to highlight for the Tampa Bay side of things. Tampa Bay, when they're on the road off a loss and they've got no rest, they rebound, they rally. They're 11-6 straight up, 12-3 to the over, as a matter of fact. So you'll kind of see there in some of these spots. I like to lean on the over, but for me, the Tampa Bay spot at -130 is what jumped off the page. The average in those 17 games where Tampa's on the road off a loss with no rest, they've got an average goal scoring of 4.1 to 3.6 on their opponent's side of the house. That's why I also put that Tampa Bay team total over in there at 3.5. I know some of you guys like to play those two team total spots. I just couldn't get there. 4.1 definitely has the margin, but I kind of neutralized that margin with Jake Allen. And ultimately, I couldn't get there on the total side of things, specifically because I like the Lightning. 2 games, when you're in a situation where, your last game was a way off a loss and an over, you're on the road game for your third time. With one of those spots being in an overtime situation, there's a 65-31 edge when you've got a high-functioning power play defined as the last 2 games, they've scored 4 goals or more on the power play. So high-functioning power play unit in Tampa Bay, able to get out there and get the job done. Another spot that I looked at here, I talked about this one before for you guys. Teams that have previously shot 30 or more times on goal that are now a home dog are 9-21. So let's dissect that for a second. You came out, you shot a puck a ton, and you're in a home dog spot where they're pretty much saying, we know that you're shooting and you're not scoring. And as that home dog, they're 9-21. They're losing by over 1 goal a game. This is definitely a play on Tampa Bay for me. I gave you guys quite a few edges that support the Tampa Bay side of things. If I was going to look the other way and I was going to look to some props, Josh Anderson's one of the few NHL props that I lined up tonight. He's found success. I think it's 4 out of his last 5 games that he's played Tampa Bay. He scored a goal. I like the shots too at 3+ at a nice +158 number, and his anytime point at 145. Here's why you don't see him on the screen. He's on the third line. He gets no power play time. He's averaging like 8 minutes of ice time a game. So threading the needle with Josh Anderson for a goal scoring spot, although he's the guy that kind of speaks the highest to me from an opportunity to get that risk return, he's not getting the minutes, and he's not even on the second power play line to get the slot time in that thing. So he got cut from the card for me. Just kind of remember that name, Josh Anderson. We're not counting him for anything other than just a guy that I'm talking about that could be able to perform. I'm locking down Tampa Bay, though, for me, the Tampa Bay Lightning at a reasonable -130 and a tremendous bounce back spot. Even though they don't have the goaltending matchup that we want to see out there, it's a team that's definitely got the ability to score. Kucherov, certainly a guy to keep an eye on as well from the Tampa Bay side of things. We'll move on to the next game. You can see quite a few hockey games to get through for you guys. We want to keep it rolling. We want to get it moving, keeping that brisk pace here. Next game up we're going to talk about is the Hurricanes and the Sabres. And here's a spot where we've got Luukkonen in the net at 3-2 for Buffalo. And we've got Ranta at 3-1 on the Hurricane side of things. Luukkonen, 3.13 goals against average, 90.1 save percentage. Ranta, 302 goals against average and 87% save percentage. Tough spot in my opinion for Buffalo here. Ultimately what I ended up doing with this game is I put Carolina in a power play in a parlay with Pittsburgh. That's a lot of P's there. That's a alliteration right there. Carolina in a parlay with Pittsburgh, and it ended up being +125. Road teams, when they're on their second road game, and their next game is going to be a home game off a win, they're 7-20. So this is another one of those spots where you got the road team on their second road game. They're going to be home their next game. but they just won their previous game. Kind of that little sandwich spot again, what we talked about with that Tampa Bay situation where you're back-to-back roadies. They're 7-20 with a 2.5 average goal in that 27-game window. So 2.5 goals, not enough to get there for me. 4.2 on the opponent's side of the house, meaning Carolina's average would be 4.2, but their team total is 4. So I stayed off that team total because I don't like the 4. I know the push is out there, but there's not enough of a margin of victory. Also on the total, the average in those 27 games has been a 6.4 goals out there. So I lean to the under Carolina at 6.5 at plus 115 if you were looking for a specific side or total in this game. Why? Because I do like, from a goaltending perspective, I do like what I'm seeing out there with Luke Okinen. Ranta's 3-1, albeit these guys do let goals up at a high rate. For me, the opportunity was simply a look to getting Carolina tied into that parlay. But I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. Buffalo's offense has not been putting the puck on net the way that you would expect, or I should say putting the puck in the net. They're one of the lowest scoring teams to start the season off in the NHL right now. And then if you look at the Luke Okinen side of things, he's let up 5 goals in his last game with 19 shots on net. So that game was also a back-to-back spot against Philadelphia, where they, won the previous game. They came back to Buffalo. They played Philly, and Philly, who stinks, was able to put the puck in the net on Luke Okinen 5 times in that game. So definitely was a letdown spot for Buffalo. Previous to that, though, he was firing. He's 3-1 with a 92.6 save percentage. Again, is another reason that pushed me to that under for this Carolina game, albeit not official. I love that plus money spot at plus 115 as well. This is the big time for kind of that first time that the star's out. Anderson's got another issue going on right now. Frederik Andersen for Carolina is the starting goaltender. He was out. He sat a couple of games previously. Now, I'm kind of a jerk. I'm not kind of a jerk. I am a jerk. But in this case, I called out the fact that he was playing like shit and that they were trying to maybe sit him for, trying to help him regain his confidence. Well, turns out he's got blood clot issues. So shame on me. Had no idea. It's the first game without this guy. I'll recant my statement about him being a floppy, sloppy guy and expect that he's got some serious health issues going on. Blood clots are certainly nothing to be messed around with here. But in that case, I still do feel like, hey, we've got a team that's at home in that sandwich spot for Buffalo. I like them to get the win. The backup isn't going to do much wonders for Carolina, so we're going to need a big start here out of our guy Ranta. But again, with the 3-1 record, it shows that Carolina is able to rally around this guy. They're bringing up out of Syracuse in the AHL, Kochetkov. He's going to be the backup out there for Carolina. And if we have to go to him, this game's going to be in trouble. So ultimately, I didn't want to pay the juice for it. It's just the first of a 2-leg parlay for me, but we're going to keep it rolling. We'll keep it moving. JPZ says bet online sucks for college basketball. Probably does. I don't know. Justin says he likes the Sabres over 6.5 on his card. Yeah, okay. It is what it is. Kelly V, there she is, says over in the Buffalo Carolina game. See, I see a bunch of you guys on that over. It makes me a little bit nervous. Justin V says, I like the Ducks at least plus 1.5. Keep riding. Ducks fly together, man. We'll talk a little bit about that game. Justin says that Kush God. I work bottom up in the chat, so sometimes I'm jumping in to give you guys some recognition and shout outs, and I'm missing the conversation. And then Loopy U2Y says, Mike always been a great, thanks, man. No, I've never worked in show business, and I'm just happy to get the opportunity to work here for you guys. And that's how I look at it, is I got to get to work and make sure that I find those spots for you guys to cash. So we're going to keep it rolling. The other spot that I looked at here, one lean on the player prop side, was Tage Thompson. Last game, he shot the puck 7 times. He's the guy that's been scoring goals like crazy. He is the guy that scores for them. If anybody is going to put the puck in and it's not Tage Thompson, I would say it's Victor Olofsson, AKA Golofsson. But I just think this is going to be a lower scoring spot. So I know a lot of you guys are kind of saying that you think that it's going to lend to the over. Buffalo at 2.5 on the average over a 27 game sample is enough for me to stay off of giving any definitive hard lines on Sabre spots. But good luck. It's only a lean. If you like that over, we can still cash together if this parlay comes through for me. So we will keep it going. Next game there we're going to talk about is the Red Wings versus the New York Rangers here. We've got Husso and net versus former Stanley Cup champion Jonathan Quick. Husso at 5-2-1. Jonathan Quick at 2-0-1 with the record as a backup, which is kind of impressive out there. When it's Shesterkin's in net, he's kind of getting the guy that's like, New York Rangers have always been a 75, 80%, 25, 30% type of situation where they kind of go to their big guy. We saw it with Henrik Lundqvist for the number of years as well. They give them the bulk of the action, but they're sharp at bringing in talent and keeping them fresh. And we see that here with Jonathan Quick at 2-0-1. Now, Husso's got a 3.36 goals against average, 89.6 save percentage. The flip side, though, Jonathan Quick, 1.42 goals against average, 94.8 save percentage. In this case here, I don't really talk about a lot of the cash flow. You guys have heard me talk about that, and I won't repeat it as a broken record. But 63% of the bets and 96% of the cash were on the Red Wings earlier today. You got a road dog that couldn't be any more public than having 96% of the cash on him. I want nothing to do with that. Also, here's an interesting spot for a team that falls under this criteria with the New York Rangers. When they had a strong penalty kill performance the previous game and they're a favorite the next game, strong penalty kill performance meaning the goaltenders made 8 or more saves in that game, and they're a favorite the next game. They're 14-5 straight up. So like this Rangers spot quite a bit. Detroit's a high scoring offense, the 6th highest scoring offense, but Jonathan Quick's no stranger to finding scoring offenses out there. That's how he won the Stanley Cup a couple of times. So Husso on the other side of things, he's starting his 4th straight start. He did come off a Boston beating, right? They took on Boston and won the game outright, but he sat there with an 86.7 save percentage. My feeling in this situation, the New York Rangers, 6 of their last 7 have been victories, but 18th in scoring. So they're not getting the job done to that extent either. But I kind of felt like in this situation for me with the New York Rangers, look, I'm going to pay the juice for the New York Rangers. 1, they're home. 2, we've got Jonathan Quick, who's more than a capable backup, and I think we're catching a discount on the number because of that. You got a huge public dog in the Detroit Red Wings, and then I've got a trend for you guys here. When you've got the NHL favorite, home favorite against a winning team in the first half of the season, 115 to 662. You don't get more than a 1,700 game sample, and it's a 61% win factor. So think about that: 1,700 game sample, 61% win percentage. I got New York Rangers at -145. I locked it on the card. I don't care that it's juicy. It's one of the higher juice spots. You guys know I do my best to find those lower juice opportunities. In this case, I'm just going to bite the bullet. I like the spot. I do not want that public road dog in the Detroit Red Wings. And I lean to the under. I do think this is that potential goaltending matchup. Everything on paper says this should be a score fest, but Jonathan Quick's 1.42. The Detroit Red Wings offense, as hot as they've been, coming off of that game where they just beat Boston, it's kind of, to me, it's that exhale. They just took down the Bruins. They're going to exhale. They're going to try to catch their breath. They might overlook this New York Rangers team, and I think it's just a great spot to be on the Rangers. So we'll move along. I'm going to add in here. It's not on the screen, but I am going to add this in here for you guys. It's going to be an official play for me on the Minnesota Wild. We got Marc-Andre Fleury at 2-2-1. We got Varlamov in the net for the Islanders at 2-1. Marc-Andre Fleury's coming off a win. His season, his last 2 seasons, ever since getting traded from the Kings to the Blackhawks, has really been kind of a sell spot for Marc-Andre Fleury. 2.82 goals against average, 89.2 save percentage. On the other side of things, Varlamov has a 1.0 goals against average and 97.2 save percentage. I had to look twice. I was like, are you kidding me right now? But I'm just not a fan of the way the Islanders play at home. It kind of goes back to, I don't know, was it 2 weeks ago when we started talking about the Colorado Avalanche, who were struggling to be in the Northeast on the road, and they came in and they put boots to ass on the New York Islanders. And I kind of have this sneaky suspicion we see a lot of the same tonight. It's just more of an opportunity where I'm just kind of looking at the numbers. I'm looking at the trends. I'm not a buy on the Islanders. The Islanders are one of those teams that wants to play that low and slow style of offense. And I think that the Minnesota Wild are more than capable of coming in on the road. It's a moderately priced number at -102. I had to jump in on the Minnesota Wild. 75% of the bets, 79% of the cash. The Minnesota Wild went from +120 down to -102s. In this spot here, it's not what I would consider that 96% road dog, but we do have seen that tick that it's now becoming not a favorite, but an even money spot. So I'm adding it as an official play on the card. I'll make sure to highlight it and recap it. Sorry that there's no graphic for you guys. It's on me. It was a late ad, and I know what happens with these late ads, so tread lightly. There we go. We'll keep it rolling. Next game on the card for us that we're going to talk about here. The Winnipeg Blues, Winnipeg, I'm struggling here, tongue twister. Today we'll take 2 here. The Winnipeg Jets versus the St. Louis Blues. We got Hellebuck in net at 5-3-1 for the Jets. We got Binnington in net at 3-3-1 for the Blues. 3.08 goals against average for Hellebuck and an 89% save percentage. Binnington on the other side of things with a 2.38 goals against average and 92.4 save percentage. Interesting spot here with Binnington. You could argue he's just not the goaltender that they kind of thought. He's got some strong games, and then he's got some real shit the bed type of games out there. And the problem in that spot here is they needed him to be the guy that's sitting there with a 96% save percentage and a 1.25 goals against average. He's not there. He's off by half of that this season. And, it's going to be an offense when you got a wishy-washy goaltending that has a lack of scoring prowess that you just can't back in this case. So St. Louis has the 29th offense in the NHL. Could it be a bounce back stat spot for Binnington? Maybe. I guess I could face that challenge out here. But, Hellebuck's on his 4th start. He just came off a big win where everybody was selling low on the Jets and saying, we're going to take Arizona. They've been red hot. Well, they came out and they beat him. He got 22 saves. They won 5-3 against the Arizona Coyotes. And he showed his confidence and his ability. Also, by the way, we've got that trend again. 30 or more shots on goal. And the teams now a home dog are 9-21. So that favors a spot for the Winnipeg Jets as well. Love this Jet spot quite a bit here. Favorites, away favorites, when they got 2 teams that have over 40% win percentages. The road favorite, when they're playing teams that have 40% win percentage or higher, 2,236 to 1,474. A huge Jet spot out there. And, the last number I'm going to throw at you guys here. When the St. Louis Blues are on 2 days of rest or more, the over has hit 14 out of 16 times. It's gone over by 2. I'm not buying in on this St. Louis Blues over. I've given a couple of losses on there and trying to expect the St. Louis Blues to score. Every time I think they're going to score goals, they don't. They shit the bed. But in that spot where they've got 2 days or more, the rust, not the rest, takes over. The rust, they're 6-12 when they're approaching a game off of 2 days or more rest. So, again, all signs to me point to the Winnipeg Jets. The last spot here is you've got the NHL road favorites that do have rest, 3 or 4 days of rest against a team that didn't make the playoffs the previous year, 667 to 380. Big sample sizes. So I try to kind of dissect it and drill down on team-specific trends and give you guys a nice little sample. But then sometimes these bigger trends where you've got 1,000 games plus, 2,000, 3,000 games, that just shows the course of time that they're going to prevail more often than not. So 64% win percentage. You guys know all you need to be winning is 54% over the course of the season to be profitable at the end. And when we see 64%, give me them Winnipeg Jets minus 135. That's a spot for me. I locked it down. That's one of my favorite spots on the card. In fact, it is my favorite spot on the card. I like that Winnipeg Jets spot the most of anything here on the NHL card tonight. And I hammered away at it really well. So not gonna change that gear now. It's one of those spots I just like quite a bit. Sean Fisher says every Dub Club scammer on Auburn tonight. I'm not sure anything about that, but okay, Sean, thanks for sharing. I assume you like the other side in that case. Joe Kryptonite says Winnipeg for sure. Love that Winnipeg spot, Joe. Glad to see you on it with me. The Real American says Minnesota money line over 5.5. I'm assuming that's a parlay at plus 225 for the Real American. We know he's been cashing on those things. Justin B says they need to put an NHL team on the other side of America in Tijuana, Mexico. Yeah, I'm not sure what the south of the border market looks like for the NHL, but hey, you know what? Maybe you should email Gary Bettman and throw that idea out there. I know I'd love to see some games down there, but I'm not sure if they're quite ready to put their footing down in Tijuana. Although I'm sure the guys would love that. I know hockey guys love to have a lot of fun on their days off. Perky Sanderson says Perk official max play Ohio Bobcats minus 5.5. Kelly V says the Jets are 8-2 straight up in the series and 6 of 8 puck lines they've covered as well. So if you want to get that juice down or maybe look at the -1, go get it. I'm not against the minus 135 because I'll pay that extra 15, 20 cents of juice to know if it goes to overtime and I win, that I still end up winning. But Lano says he's on the Blues from St. Louis, always going to ride with the home team. Hey, I hear you, man. You got to, head or heart. Sometimes the heart takes over. So I get it, and Rich H says Islanders blowing leads at home. Who are these guys? They're a bunch of scrubs, Rich. That's what I think they are. But, shout out to anybody that does want to support the Islanders. Go get them. New York teams are hard to trust. Justin V, that's kind of this game across the enterprise right now. I know I was talking with T before the show. It doesn't matter if it's the NBA, the NHL, the NFL. Like it's a sell spot right now. That Major League Baseball. Think about it. If you're in the Major League Baseball and you got to count on the New York Mets to be a team to lift your spirits, it's going to be a long season. So anyhow, baseball's already long, and I'll take my shot at the New York Mets because I know. Shout out to my guy Nick. I know he's a big New York Mets guy. But anyhow, we're going to move on. We're going to cover this next game. We'll keep this thing rolling. Appreciate you guys sharing those plays out there. Again, love to cover them. Love to share them out loud. I've taken some notes down on a couple of these as well, and I will do my damnedest to try to get in on tail some of these. Loopy says St. Louis last 5 home games versus Winnipeg 1-4. There's just a lot of reasons why I thought that play made a lot of sense there. Loopy. So appreciate you sharing those trends as well. Love to hear those. Love to see them. You guys know I'm a trend guy. I love to see when you guys have something that I haven't had a chance to cover or take a look at. This gets me even more excited about the play. And speaking of the next play, we're going to talk about this Nashville-Calgary spot here. We got Saros. You see Saros in net at 4-5 versus Markstrom at 1-6-1. Oh my gosh, the guy's terrible, right? Well, hang on. Let's talk about this here. We got a 2.68 goals against average for Saros, 91% save percentage. On the other side of things, we've got Markstrom, 3.03 goals against average with an 89.7 save percentage. Numbers don't support Markstrom one way, shape, or form. What am I doing? Why am I looking at Calgary Flames? Well, let's talk about the next opponent factor. I've talked to you guys about teams that have the next opponent. I've talked to you guys about teams that have previous opponents. Some of these things really matter in the NHL and probably more than some other sports here. When your next opponent's Toronto and you're on the road, everybody gets excited to play at the Bell Canada Center or whatever they're calling it now. It used to be the Air Canada Center, whatever they're naming it now. It doesn't make a difference. When you're going to Toronto, it's an original 6 team. Everybody as a kid growing up was a Leafs fan in one way, shape, or form at one time of their life. It's exciting to go to that kind of hockey capital of the world and play those teams. So when you're on the road, but you're currently at home, it's a 14-1 spot, and this is where the Calgary Flames have their next opponent. Who is it? It's the Toronto Maple Leafs. So unlike other sports, there is no look ahead in situations like this for some of these teams, and it's specifically a Toronto spot. They want to get their house in order before they travel so that they can go out there and put boots to ass on Toronto. The other side of things here is when your next opponent's Toronto on the road, but you're a home team, and the line's greater than -120, you're 21-2. So there's a kind of a same situation when you look at the total at 6 or less, 14-1. When you look at the line at -120 or greater, 21-2. 2 huge opportunities to say that Toronto angle is alive. It's not just a premonition or a thing. It's the real deal out there when you look at these Toronto teams. Also, when your last game you had 5 or more goals and you won by 3+ on the road, the over is 10-4 to the over. So I have a lean on here for the over because the average total in that 14-game span is 6.4 total goals. It's enough to be over the 6 mark, and the 6 mark is even money. So line shop, you could probably find some 5.5s and pay some juice. I don't want to have to depend on the Predators to put the puck in the net, but I locked in the Calgary Flames. I had those 2 Toronto angles that just made a lot of sense to me. Saros, as far as goaltending, he's coming off of being a backup 2 straight games. But the last start before that, he let up 4 goals on 31 shots. It was 87%. So he kind of struggled. They put him down on the bench for a couple of games, and now they're trying to bring him back in to see if he can resurrect or right the ship. Nashville does have a top 10 defense, but as far as their offense is concerned, less than desirable. Calgary is also in a position where they're looking for their first back-to-back wins of the season. They've been win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. And now they've got an opportunity to put 2 in a row together before they go on Toronto and create a little winning streak. It has happened before, and it will happen again. And I think tonight's a good spot for Calgary. I know at home what they've been doing, but in this case here, I got to rock this Calgary Flame spot. You got a bottom 5th offensive team, lost 7 starts for Markstrom, and now they're a favorite. Doesn't that make you scratch your head and say, wait a minute, they're not performing. They're not playing well. How come they're a favorite like this in this spot? And granted, it's a small favorite, but I think it's a nice price to have an opportunity to go and cash the spot. So lock me down. Give me them Calgary Flames. We'll move on to the next game here for you guys. Seattle Kraken versus the Arizona Coyotes. I know quite a few guys are excited and gals are excited about this game. This is one of those last-minute change-ups. I originally capped this game, and I was looking at the goaltending, and they moved it to Dackard at 2-1-2 in the pipes for the Kraken. Ingram on the other side for the Coyotes at 3-1. You got the Dackard situation at 2.88 goals against average, 91.2 save percentage. You got Ingram at 2.39 goals against average, 91.9 save percentage. A couple of interesting numbers and looks in this spot here. Dackard was the backup for 3 straight starts. And Arizona now lost 4 of their last 6. So that buy spot that everybody was on for Arizona is kind of fallen apart and gotten dismantled. But, Ingram is he's proven that he's one of the better goaltenders they have in the stable. So Arizona likes to kind of rotate between their 2 goaltenders and splitting starts. But the last 2 games for Ingram, he's made 57 saves on 60 shots. Seattle's 6th fewest goals per game in the NHL right now. They're only scoring 2.66. For me, I've got an away favorite spot. I'm not a big fan of. I didn't want to jump in and get involved on the Kraken side of things. I did lock down the under 6.5, and I did make one more ad. I did add the Arizona Coyotes, and let me tell you exactly what I can give you guys for that Arizona spot here. Again, it's late minute ads. I get crazy with a lot of this action. I'm looking at this shit all day, and it's like, okay, this is the line movement that I wanted to see. That goaltending change took the Coyotes from a small dog at home to a moderate favorite, but I can get a minus 105 right now for the Arizona Coyotes. I'm double dipping this thing. I'm going under 6.5, and I'm taking Arizona at minus 105. Shame on me for looking all day in this game being late tonight. So it's going to be an opportunity for me to get a lot of action on that game. I'll have it on TV. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I think, I like watching these Seattle games because everyone gets excited and then they end up taking it on the chin. So we'll see how that plays out, but that's the spot that I am on. Double dipper for me. I don't like to double dip as a general principle or habit. I try to just kind of go one or the other, but when I saw that goaltending change, and I know Ingram's the guy that's going in for Arizona now, I think it's a good bounce back, get right spot. There's our guy, Director 97, says, Pimp, I need advice on the Auburn-Baylor college basketball game. It's not an official play for me on the show, but I took Baylor. I got Baylor at plus 1.5 this morning at, I don't know, it was maybe 9:30. So, we'll talk about that. Billy B's backstage. I know he's going to be the guy that's going to share with us an opportunity to hit some cash. Maybe that'll be one of the games that he's got in his arsenal tonight as well, but we will keep it rolling. Look at last game in the NHL. Last game to talk about for you guys here tonight is this Pittsburgh-Anaheim game. Look, I got this as the second leg of the parlay. You can see it down there in parlay corner in the bottom right of the screen. Carolina, Pittsburgh, it's a plus 125 spot. Line shop, you might be able to catch a better number out there. Bottom line, here's another one of those situations. When your next opponent's the LA Kings and you're on the road and you're an away favorite, you're 81-36. It's a Penguin spot there. The Kings are one of those teams that people want to get ready for. It's a big market. It's a marquee spot where the players want to get their house in order in advance. And the Ducks just made a change. This is another change, a last-minute goaltending change to Gibson in goal. Jarry's 3-5 with a 2.73 goals against average and 89.7 save percentage. Gibson 2-3 with a 2.66 goals against average and 91% save percentage. I'm not a Gibson fan. I know he's played well. He's done some things out there. Away favorites that have less than 3 days of rest. This is one of those big trend spots. 1,925 games for, 1,200 games against, 61.5% save percentage. And the Ducks, when they're home after a win, they're 5-10. So I know a lot of people are on this Ducks and thinking, hey, the Ducks are turning it around. Look, those turnarounds are temporary when you're a shit team, and the Ducks are a shit team. Make no mistake about it. So the average numbers in this spot are 2.5 goals for in the Ducks case, 4 goals for on the Pittsburgh side of things. Then I looked over to try to correlate it and try to see if there was a team total play. Guess where they've got the number pegged at? 4. So if you think some of these trends don't matter, guess again. When I share a number and then I go and I look at it in the books and it's the same freaking number, and it's juiced, by the way, to the over 4. They know something that I want you guys to know as well, and I think it's a Pittsburgh spot. So I wouldn't be mad at anybody that wanted to go Pittsburgh -1. Not quite there when it comes to laying it and on the puck line. The last number I'll share with you guys, I call it the heartless Ducks factor. When you got a team that had less than 16 block shots the previous game. So, takes a lot to go down and slide in front of a puck that's coming out at 95 miles an hour. But when you're less than 16 block shots, you're 7-24 that next game. Heartless situation. Your team showed no heart. Your goalie's out there getting shelled and taking every shot in the books. The next game, they just don't perform, and they're losing by 1.58. So that kind of doubles back to why I wouldn't be mad at anybody that wanted to take the -1. I was looking at the regulation. I've got to lean on Pittsburgh in regulation. Kind of, I know all the numbers say not to do it, right? It's like a situation where what are you doing with Pittsburgh? They're an old team, but I just think this is a spot where we're buying, essentially we're buying. There's a reason that Pittsburgh's priced the way it is right now. And I think it's a buy. As much as it's pricey, it's a buy low spot for Pittsburgh. It's a sell high spot for Anaheim. Anaheim should probably be a -300 in this case here, but a little too early for the books to start putting those kind of numbers on on a team. I'm sorry, a plus 300. But they're not going to put that money out there because they know there's some vulnerability and there's the opportunity. The goaltending change for me is a big change up, though. So had to move on past that one. We'll keep it rolling for you guys. Look, I don't have any other action in the NHL tonight. I looked at that Devils game against the Avalanche. Vanacek versus Georgiev. I just couldn't get there. I think New Jersey, everybody knew about the New Jersey scoring and the games going over. They've gone under their last two games. On the Colorado side of the house, they've gotten shut out like 3 of their last 4 games as well. Straight stay away spot for me. I would expect there to be some bounce back and some goals out there. But I don't want to take the Colorado spot at a pricey, pay. If I was going to take them in regulation, I saw that at minus 115. That almost made the card. It was like one of the first cuts. And then I would look at that over too, just because, you got the Devils off of 2 unders, but the counterpoint to that is 3 shutouts on the Colorado side. Things are not right in Colorado. And the last game, the Flyers and Sharks, look, you see behind me where my bread is buttered, so to speak. And I love the Flyers. But I'll say it again. They're too stupid to know how bad they are. And they're showing that by going out there and winning these games. They should be the ones that are tanking and getting losses by 10. I know the Sharks haven't covered the puck line in like 10 straight games. You want to lay a minus 1.5 with the Flyers on the road on the West Coast at a 10:30 spot. Go get them. Blackwood's 0-6-1 for the Sharks. I think that's a bounce back spot. I don't think that's going to be the case. I just couldn't get there. Those are 2 games I just don't want any part of. I got enough action going on tonight with the other spots in the NHL. I got some more things rocking here. We're going to move really quickly. I don't want to keep my guy back there too long. I want to give you guys some of these looks for college basketball. It's a huge card tonight. We got a lot to talk about. Look, I'm going to be short, sweet, and to the point. We're going to move into college football. That's the next stop on the tour. And we're going to cover this game, Ball State, NIU. It's Maction time here, baby. It's Maction Tuesday. And look, a couple spots that I had here tonight. I'm a big under spot, short, sweet, and to the point. NIU, I just couldn't get there. NIU, 0-11 against the spread as a favorite of more than 2 points when the total's at least 43. So they're 0-11 against the spread. The last time these guys went, and this is a trend that kind of rings true. Last year was a big over for Mac. You guys all know that. You guys were all sitting there watching Maction overs, and it was like an auto casher, like primetime unders in the NFL this year. But if last year's head-to-head went over, and it went over by 9 or more points, the under the following year is 5-13 to the under, and it's going under by 3.5 points. So I kind of put those 2 together, and I said, I got a spot where NIU, who's in an 0-11 situation as a favorite, I got this Maction where the game total went way over the previous year, should be an under. What did I end up doing? I moved on the NIU team total under 26.5 at plus 105. Now we're going to line shop this thing because I do believe this number has changed. I want to say it's 28.5 right now. So byproduct of looking early versus late. Make sure you guys get the best number out there. And as I'm looking here on the screen, doing it live for you guys, live in person, give you guys the best number we can find out there. Let's see. First halves. I think my mouse is dying. It's moving real slow on me. Keep spinning the wheel, and it's literally spinning the wheel and not doing anything. So let's keep it looking here. Team props. First half team totals. 28.5 minus. Come on. Minus 115, 28.5. That's the spot that I like. I would take advantage of that. That's available over at FanDuel. Make sure you guys look at that thing. NIU for me. Look, last week, Central Michigan, had one of their best performances. They were able to smash and gash NIU, almost won outright. They had 4 touchdowns on the ground. Ball State plays a very similar game. I wouldn't be upset at anybody that wanted to take the 9.5. I lean to the 9.5 on the Ball State side of the equation. Certainly not a spot I would shy away from, but I just like this NIU team total. Again, give me a team that should be going under with a team that's 0-11. That to me is a recipe for not getting points on the board, not getting those touchdowns at the end. Boy, it's a tough day for me to talk. I don't know what's going on here. Game number 2. We'll keep it rolling for you guys. 2 more spots to cover, and then we're going to bring on our hardwood expert to give us his breakdowns and his looks. Short, sweet, and to the point. Number 1 team out there, and I want to cover these splits for you guys. 27% of the bets, 62% of the cash on Western Michigan -3. 42% of the bets, 79% of the cash on the under, and 33% of the bets and 59% of the cash on Western Michigan moneyline. I'm concerned that Western Michigan moneyline hasn't moved. Okay, that's a factor for me that kept me off the full game. I did find that 3-way first half Western Michigan spot. It's minus 120. So the 3-way means if it's a draw, you lose, right? If you guys are new to the 3-way betting, if it's a draw, you lose. Now you could pay up and take Western Michigan minus 145 in the first half. If you're comfortable with that, I would consider going that direction. Two things going on. Western Michigan, one of the best first half teams in college football at 7-2 against the spread. And a little note that a lot of people may not be aware of is that there was a little tussle going on after last week's game. And Central Michigan's got a couple of key guys that they're going to be sitting down here, but they're only sitting them down for the first half. So give me the most profitable first half team in college football against a team that's going to be, penalizing themselves with some player suspensions because of some shenanigans the previous week. I like that Western Michigan spot. Pay up if you want. I'm going to go with the three-way here. If it's a tie, I'll take the loss, but I want to keep the juice down. It's a big card for me, and I want to keep that ROI intact. Third game we're going to talk about, moving right along, 80% of the bets, 84% of the cash on Ohio. Ohio did just move from -7 to -7.5. So that was kind of the movement I was looking for. Ultimately, I originally looked at a teaser. I was thinking Central Michigan +9 and the under 50. I cut it. I got enough action going on tonight anyways, but 84% of the bets and 95% of the cash on the under. Buffalo's offense stinks. They're just not scoring. I said this before. We got another one of those spots where you've got the Maction spot. When the previous time these two teams played went over by 9 or more points, it's 5-13 to the under. It's the second game tonight that formula holds true for, and it's a Maction specific trend. So I expect this game to be a tightly low scoring game. But what concerns me is Buffalo's offense is so bad. They could throw 2 turnovers in no time at all, and then they turn it around on short field and get touchdowns. So I'm very concerned about that. Now, that would certainly lend to Ohio and the Ohio -7.5. Ohio is 9-0 when they're not a 28-point dog, and they threw more than 300 yards the previous game. So that's an Ohio-specific trend for you guys, 9-0 ATS spot. And why they're not a 28-point dog is they're in the MAC, right? It's when they go against teams like Bama and Georgia that they're huge underdogs, and they throw those yards out there. But when they kind of hone it in and they look at being a small favorite or a reasonable favorite, and they're throwing for more than 300 yards the previous game, they're 9-0 against the spread. I like Ohio. I don't like the hook. I did see that last-minute line movement, so I would be comfortable in that direction. Just not a game I want to get any part of. I wanted to give you guys a couple of looks and a couple of incentives or some ideas to think about when it comes to some of the numbers specific to those teams. But we got about 12 minutes till 7 o'clock tip. We got our guy backstage. He had a tremendous week last week. And, we text this is my guy here. Last minute, I was like, hey, we got CBB. What do you think? And he said, yeah, come in. Let's go. Let's talk about some spots. So we're going to bring him on here. You guys know what he's up. He's Sheriff Brisbane right now. He's got himself ready to rock and roll. We're going to bring on our guy, Billy Briz. Billy, how you doing, my guy? What are you doing with no NBA tonight?
Doing good, man. We're sweating out the first bet of the night. If you guys want to hop in, we are on Drexel Moneyline and Drexel Race to 25. But we're looking at these games for tonight. This is the first one. Here is UNC. UNC Cashville is what they were called in the betting markets last year, man. They were one of the more profitable teams in college basketball ATS last year. And going into Ann Arbor tonight, I have a little bit of concerns with Michigan's roster this year. I originally had them in my big, long parlay, and then I ended up taking them out because if you really dig in deeper to it, their best player just transferred to Kansas. They're not really returning a lot of players. UNC Asheville was damn near one of the best teams in college basketball last year, covering ATS-wise, and they're basically returning their whole entire same team. Just feels like a weird spot. We saw Michigan State last night loses +16.5 underdogs to James Madison, so you see somewhat a little bit of the public money coming here, 64% of the bets on UNC Cashville and 59% of the sharp bets. So not a lot of people betting on Michigan here, but that could create some value for them in this spot. But I got to pass here in this one. I would go UNC Asheville or pass.
Yeah, so Juwan Howard had the heart surgery, right? So he's out of this thing here, and they got Phil Martelli is the guy that's kind of taking the replacement for him.
I like him.
I wasn't a big Juwan Howard fan, anyways. I mean, he was kind of like the Patrick Ewing type of thing. You bring in the name, and I know he had some shenanigans last year, and he probably is a player's coach kind of guy. Got the boys fired up, but. Yeah, you're right. UNC Cashville last year was making a ton of cash. They bring back their damn near whole team. That Drew Pember beast out there for the squad as well. And yeah, you're right. I mean, 29% of the bets, 69% of the cash. You guys will see that stuff scrolling across the bottom now. Again, I talked about that at the onset of the show. We wanted to try to open it up and show you guys just a little bit more, kind of keep some of that stuff in front of you so that we can talk about these games themselves. I did move on Michigan -10, and we don't just have to talk about the 4 that are on the side over here. We can talk about any that you want to give it to us, Billy, but I went with Michigan. I think this is a spot where, yeah, everyone says they're a mess. Everybody kind of knows they're a mess, but the numbers come down enough to me that, I don't like that they lost. Was it Dickinson? As a transfer out to Michigan. I'm not a big fan of that. That I think is going to be a big factor. But the fact that we've come down by what I think is a possession against what the original number was, to me, led me to Michigan. So I did make an official play on Michigan. I got him at -10. We'll see. I'll sweat that one out a little bit here. I just think Michigan's, UNC Cashville last year, everyone's on them. Again, a public road dog. To me, it's like I'll turn the plane into the storm and face the adversity. So we'll keep it rolling here. I know the next one I had on the card is Mount St. Mary's, Maryland. But anything else that you want to talk about here in the 7:00 window that we're not queued up for?
We just go down the list here. I do like Maryland here in this spot. I actually have them in my big long parlay that went by double digits here in this spot. I mean, if you look at their roster, they're returning a lot of the Simizak players. They're key contributors, I should say, from last year. You got the big man Reese and you got the guard Young out there. I like Maryland a lot here in the spot. I know Mount St. Mary's covered some big lines last year, but to do it in Maryland, first game of the year in College Park, nah, I like Maryland here to cover the spread. Another big favorite that I was looking at here is Georgetown versus I forget how to say the team's name. It's like Lamoille. This is their first year in D1 basketball, and if you look at their scheduling, man, you talk about rough sledding. Welcome to Division I basketball. Georgetown on Wednesday, Friday night in Villanova. Seems like they're going to start off 0-2 this year. First time playing in Division I basketball. They only had one Division I game last year versus Buffalo, and they lost 55-89 in Buffalo. So Georgetown, the big thing about them is while you don't think they're going to be good in the Big East, I mean, you got to get some confidence rolling here for them. So you got to pay these schools to come in here and take these L's, man, like grown men. And Georgetown, I actually think they have the possibility of covering a -20.5 at the crib. I do like that to win by double digits.
Two things I'll add to that there. So I was with you on Maryland. I got the Maryland side it's a lean for me at 20.5. But when you look at these big numbers, to your point about paying these guys to come in and take the L, home favorites when they're in a line that's 20 points or higher, they're 120-96, and they're covering by 3.5 points. So even though they're big numbers, don't let them scare you, right? You just nailed it right on. They're paying these teams to come in and take the beating. And in most cases, they're taking the beating. It's not as much as a margin as I'd like to see from the victory side of things. But again, the 54% is the number we're looking for. They get over that 54%, they're going to take the beating. They will. So, Lemoyne's going to be one of those schools where if you look, it's in my neck of the woods here. Geographically, there'll be a team that's going to be playing like UB and St. Bonaventure. They're kind of in that little triangle of misery for Western New York sports basketball fans. So, we'll see them get beat up quite a bit. And you're right, their schedule, not just today, but let's see how badly they get beaten today, because you're right, with Villanova on deck, could be tough sledding for those boys to keep things rolling. What do we got next?
One game, Stony Brook versus St. John's University. A lot of rumblings about St. John's with Rick Pacino coming back into the big market for college basketball. He's bringing some guys from Iona. St. John's lost in one of their scrimmage games, but they did have some players out for that one. I kind of like them covering this line here against Stony Brook. If you look at big dogs, the number one thing that you want to see is, can they rebound? Basically, can they match up size-wise with them, and can they hit free throws, and are they going to self-commit turnovers? Those are the three categories you really want to look at when you're backing a dog in college basketball. And if you can't check off all three check marks, then you shouldn't be probably betting on that team. And that's the type of slate that we have here today. Also, the big marquee game, the biggest game of the day, Auburn versus Baylor here. I actually got a little bit greasy here with a player prop, Jacoby Walter here, who's supposed to be a projected top 15 pick in the NBA draft this upcoming year, top 10 recruit for this freshman class. Bet his over 9.5 points at -125 today. If you shop around, it's probably -160 BetMGM, -170 Barstool. FanDuel has it all the way up at 11.5 at -115. There's numbers all over the board, but if you look at Baylor's preseason scrimmages, he had 15 points versus Gonzaga, 22 versus Texas A&M. If he's supposed to be a top 15 pick, and this is supposed to be a high-scoring game in South Dakota, I can't say the word Sudix Fall. You know what I'm talking about. That gym, Sioux Falls, that gymnasium for Summit basketball is like historically known for overs, and
Yeah.
overs. If you look at some of those scores that's held in this gym, it's just 90s and the 80s, and it's an ESPN game. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in the game. I would actually lean towards the over instead of picking a side, but I actually like the Baylor point guard freshman here, Jacoby Walter, to have a nice little showing on national television and show the reason why they have him projected as a lottery pick. One of the big favorites that I'm looking at for later on in the evening, I think it's the last game of the card, Sacramento State versus Nevada. Sacramento State is bringing back their two best players from last year in Jared Lucas and Keenan Blackshear. And they added some depth from the transfer portal. They got an Ilone guard, Hunter Mislintosh, who's coming back from injury. So Nevada's going to be pretty deep this year. They started off last year pretty well. I think they're going to have a little sour taste in their mouth from their opening exit game from both the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament last year. So I look them to come out here assertive and cover this 13.5 against Sacramento State.
I like that too. Actually, it's funny. You can't see it, but I had one last game on the college basketball side, and it was Nevada minus 13.5. Home favorites when they got a total less than 140 on the opening game of the season, when the lines between 5 and 14 are 36 and 19 overall against the spread. So home favorite, total less than 140, first game of the season when the line's between 5 and 14 points. So keep an eye on that. If it goes over 14 points, that trend's going to kind of be null and void. But sitting at 13.5, 36 and 19 against the spread. I love that you started saying the Sacramento side. I was like, oh, shit, do I got to scrap this thing? But no, I like it. It's an official show play for me as well. I know we got some guys in the chat here. Nathan Cernan says, I took a little risky poo on Creighton Blue Jays minus 33.5. Yeah, I looked at Creighton in the first half of that game. I wasn't against the number. I just liked Creighton. I think the number was 19.5 for the first half, so I felt a little better about that one. Any thoughts on that game?
That might be a little bit of an index out of my line. I think Creighton does win the game, but I mean, 35.5 points. If you look at the game, like it kind of reminds me a little bit of not the same exact spread because it's double the spread, but I bet San Diego State last night in a long parlay, and they were the last leg of my parlay. And that game was pretty fucking close, 35-33 at halftime, and then in the second half, they blew them out by 40. Like, it could be just one of those spots. Like, you never know. Sometimes in college basketball, it takes a little bit of time for these kids to get it together, especially in the early part of the year. I saw somebody in the chat was talking about what would be your favorite overs on the card. My favorite overs would be North Dakota versus Iowa. 155.5, 156.5, opened up at 154. People are betting the over, and deservedly so. When we think about Iowa University, when we think about that football team, their football team is just slow going, not
under
really
Central.
friendly, under Central. But if you look at their basketball team is an up and down team, and that bodes well with North Dakota's pace of play. That is probably the highest graded pace of play spot on the card tonight, with two good offensive teams going at it. Another one would probably be Albany versus
T, can you flip it once? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Like, T, can you flip it one for us? Because I do have that North Dakota spot on there. Actually, this is my fault. Wrong game. It's the next one after that. But I'm screwing it up there. There we go. So I like the team total over 88.5 in that game. As far as the numbers were concerned, you're right. Over Central when it comes to these two teams. North Dakota is a team that's not afraid to put the points on the board. 156.5 is the number I was seeing out there now. 91% of the bets, 93% of the cash on the over. The Iowa team total for me just kind of, could I see this thing? Could I see him coming out there and winning the game by 21? Yeah, I could see that very likely happening. But North Dakota was in I think they're in a rebound spot because they weren't supposed to get beat down like they did last game here. So I was concerned that they're going to push pace with Iowa, and that number might just be a little outside the gap, but I like the 88.5 for the team total. So that was an official play for me for show purposes. The Iowa team total over 88.5. Sorry, Billy, go ahead.
I saw the next graphic. Let's talk about this Northern Iowa versus North Texas game. Probably one of the more interesting games on the card from a spread perspective for sports bettors, because you see a 4.5 line, and good memories for North Texas for us. I mean, the way they ended out last year in the NIT tournament. And then you have Northern Iowa, a program that really invests a lot of university money into their basketball program. And they're coming off a disappointing year, something that you don't usually see from a Northern Iowa team. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two teams are going to match up against each other. I actually was leaning towards the dog here, but didn't feel comfortable enough to bet it. Total at 129.5. That just shows that these are going to be two good teams playing basketball. Kind of different from what we're used to when we watch the NBA. We're just watching a bunch of people shoot the ball inside the hoop. You're going to see a lot of plays being ran, a lot of good defense being played in zones and stuff, full court presses. I feel like this is one of those ones though where there's a little bit of bad recency bias here. I mean, how do you not like North Texas after they cashed that NIT championship game last year? I mean, like, it feels too easy of a spot to bet them here at -4. So I think it's a trap line.
Yeah, I just know it was a lot of unders for me with these two teams last year. And so I looked at it. It's not an official play for me, but 74% of the bets, 96% of the cash on the under. And I might very well end up getting there to the window with it. Like you said, it went from 130.5. It's down to 129.5 as well. So it's fallen. And it's something to be concerned with. Hey, I want to make a comment out here. I see our guy, Lieutenant Dan's legs. Hopefully you got them astronaut titanium legs on there, Lieutenant Dan. But in all fairness, if you were getting scammed, you'd have to be asked to pay for something. So I don't think anybody asked you to pay for anything. I can see you didn't pay $4.99 to become a member at $4.99. Hey, good luck, man. You're welcome to go listen to anybody else. But thanks for dropping in. Hit the like button for us, and we'll see. You know, we start every show off with a recap. We try to keep it legit for you guys. We keep a rolling record as well. But you know, scamming's rough, you know, because you got to be asked to pay for something. Like, hey, if you want to send me $20, I'll give you my guaranteed winner. And if it loses and I tell you to go F yourself, then yeah, that's a scam. But that's not what's happening here. We're giving you breakdowns on the card, and we're doing it out of the goodness of our hearts. So thanks for being here, my guy. Just wanted to comment on that. That's something I take a little umbrage to. I tend not to comment on those types of things, but scamming, come on, dude. Come on. We're just here giving you guys looks. That being said, Billy, what else are you thinking here?
Looking at the deeper part of the card tonight, another interesting game is going to be the last game of the slate, UC Irvine versus San Jose State. This is a weird one, man. When capping this one, UC Irvine is historically one of the best teams in their conference, and they're a good ball club, but I kind of lean towards the home dog there at +3.5. Feels like a little bit of a cushiony spot there for San Jose State. I didn't make an official move on it. The only official moves that I have on the board right now is Drexel and then a bunch of these long parlays with a bunch of these big favorites that we were talking about earlier. And also Jacoby Walter over 9.5 points. That kid's supposed to be a top 15 pick. We're gonna see him light it up early here, especially in a really good game spot scenario where I feel like when you look at those two teams on paper and you look at their numbers of Auburn versus Baylor, you wouldn't think that game's gonna go super over. But then you look at the fact that it's in a neutral site game, ESPN. Yeah, a lot of points are gonna be scored in that game.
I like that look here, and then to your point about that UC Irvine spot. San Jose State opened up at -1. They're +3.5, and it's juiced. It's juiced to the other side at -3.5. So you've got almost a 5-point movement towards UC Irvine. 61% of the cash and 72% of the bets on that San Jose State. You know, as much as it's moved, that's an interesting spot to me with the number movement. So Vegas sees all that cash, and I guess I could look deeper and see if it's because it's now 3.5 that they're moving in that direction, but. That's an interesting game to keep an eye on. I love those West Coast, those Pac-12 games and those Mountain West spots in college. But not so much in college football, although the Pac-12 this year has been a lot of fun to watch. But, you know, I also think another spot that I was looking at was DePaul. Just one kind of last free flow spot for me here was, you know, -13.5 at open. Ultimately, it moved me off it down to -11.5. 77% of the bets and 70% of the cash on DePaul. Just rapid firing some more games at you guys. It's a huge college basketball card tonight. Wanted to kind of give you guys some of our thoughts and some of the looks to get out. Some of you guys want to get in early and get it done. But others just, hey, you know what? You just, you want to hear what we have to say and see what it looks like. So happy to share those spots with you guys. We're at 7:05. We've run long here tonight. We run a little past the window. I know there's big things coming up here later tonight as well. The NFL show is going on with Jimmy the Bag and Troy Torrance. They're going to give you guys their looks for for the NFL this week here. Make sure you guys tune in for that as well. I'm going to thank our guy Billy Briz for dropping in here. I'll give you guys the rundown one last time for our spots. But Billy, before I do so, where can everybody find you, my guy?
You can find me over on X at getting_Bills. Make sure you get locked in, man. College basketball season is right around the corner. It's here. I got a couple spots tomorrow that we're looking at here. Syracuse minus 12.5 versus Canisius. And everybody loves them some Florida Atlantic, but I think Loyola Chicago is going to bark at home as plus 4.5 underdog. So couple quick previews. That's why you should follow me over on X, because we always tweet out our plays and try to give back to the public. Fuck. That was a big 3.
Oh, all right, Billy. Well, I appreciate you, my guy. Thank you for dropping in. I know it's last minute. We kind of free flow through this thing here. So I always appreciate you dropping by. I love having you in here, sharing your insight on the hardwood. Any other spots you have as well here. I'll give you guys the last recap for the show, and we'll get you guys out of here. Tampa Bay Lightning for me. The parlay between Carolina and Pittsburgh. The New York Rangers, the Minnesota Wild, the Winnipeg Jets, Calgary Flames. We have under 6.5 and the Arizona Coyotes. Look, 2 board sweepages in the NHL in 3 days. Do what you want with that information. Went into college football. A couple of spots out there. I looked the NAU team total under 28.5. I got the Western Michigan first half 3-way spot at minus 120. Wouldn't be mad if anybody wanted to pay up the juice and just take them with the push in play. Michigan minus 10 for me in college hoops. Iowa team total over 88.5 and Nevada minus 13.5. Of course, Billy shared his plays. Maryland, he liked that minus 20.5. He's got Walter at over 9 points. He likes that St. John spot, and he likes Nevada with me at minus 13.5. So that's our card for tonight, you guys. Appreciate everybody dropping, and still over 120 people up in here. Guys, if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button for me. YouTube, let them know 6 o'clock. We ain't going nowhere. We're here with Last Call. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to Pub Sports Radio. Hit the notifications every time we go live. You guys will find out what's going on and where we're at. And you'll be able to see us and when we come live. So appreciate everyone's time tonight. Shout out to my guy in the back, T on the 1s and 2s. My guy holding it down for us, pivoting on the fly, doing what he does. Appreciate everybody tonight, man. Hope you guys get that cash with me. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Pub Sports Radio, we be pubbing!